Christmas is different for everyone. It doesn't look the same. Create your own mold, create your own traditions, bring the power back into your own life. Don't feel sorry for yourself. I don't facilitate people feeling sorry for themselves because we have the choice. We really do have the choice, especially living in the United States. We have the choice to create our own. And yes, our past can be dense and heavy like mine, but I'm also so grateful that I have the choice to make it different. And I think we all can. Hey, I'm Courtney Brooke, and this is Hustle for Happiness podcast. We are all on this journey to find happiness, and let's face it, it takes work. And honestly, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. This podcast is dedicated to helping you navigate life and cut through the noise. As a certified life coach, recovering perfectionist, and survivor of the foster care system, I'm all about keeping things real. With my unique outlook on life that is truly infectious, we cover everything from achieving happiness and optimal self-care to stories of those sharing their wisdom and expertise. Thank you for showing up for yourself. Now, let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Hustle for Happiness podcast. We are having a fun episode this week. I feel like it's been a while since I've done a Q&A. I've posted some things on my story about asking about these Q&As. And so for me, I was like, let's bring them to the podcast. Let's get real. Let's get raw. But I also want to just share a side of me and share things about my life that I don't necessarily always share on Instagram or really talk about in real life. And it's not that I'm trying to hide it. It's actually just, I don't think I've given myself the platform to share in this kind of intimate setting. And so that's why I love the podcast. I love the podcast because I get to show up for me. This is also my therapy, you guys. I get to show a side of me that is more personable, that is more real. And part of the Q&A gives just that. I love sharing. I love helping. Those of you just tuning in, I am a life coach. I coach on mindset, intentionality, and purpose. We all need those things. Without one lacks, right? So if we don't have purpose, we're kind of lost. Without intentionality, we're just doing things because. And without the mindset, we really can't do anything. And I totally mean that. When we have such a good mindset about our life and about situations or maybe things that just don't go our way, it can totally change the trajectory of our life. And so I am bringing a personal side of the podcast. It is November. We're in the holidays. So what better way to do a Q&A at the beginning of the holidays to just set some intentions, change our mindset. Maybe you guys will take away some gems of how I live my life and you can take that into yours. Or, there's some personal questions that I was asked about adoption and healing. And maybe you are in that phase of your life where you're just trying to heal from something or recover, maybe a lost job, a lost pet, feeling a little bit lonely. I know the holidays can bring up so many emotions and I don't want you to feel alone. So let's get into it. I'm going to answer as many questions as I can in the next 25 minutes. Again, I don't want to take your time, but I do want you to come just sit in with me this episode. It's like we're chit-chatting. Sit with me and I encourage you to listen in a way that is, when you go to the movies, you get totally divested into that story and it might be 100% made up, but you're totally invested. You're listening, you're watching, you're reacting. That's how I want you to show up to this podcast episode because I'm sharing a side of me that I'm not necessarily comfortable with, but I'm totally open to it because I love practicing different things. And these Q&As definitely show a side of me that share my vulnerability. And it might sound like it's super easy for me to share, but it's not. And I'm excited about that. You guys are helping me grow too. So let's all grow together and let's get into it. All right. So the first question, and again, I've just prepared the list and I just want to just share candidly. What's a wellness routine or practice that has transformed your life and why? I have been on my wellness journey routine since I feel like I was in my 20s. I was a competitive cheerleader. I was a competitive gymnast. And so I feel like there's always that competition within myself to have the best body or the best abs abs? Or will I fit into my uniform? Or what will I look like in my uniform, right? So I feel like the wellness journey for me has begun since college, probably even before that. But let's just start with just college and on. And I'll even go even more recently. But a wellness practice that has transformed my life is really just wellness doesn't have to be strict routines. For me, every day looks so different. And I want to encourage you that you don't have to wake up at the same time every day, do the same leg lift every other day. Like, you don't have to be strict. And that's what I want to preach. Like, we're not robots, we're humans. And if you're a female listening to this podcast, we know that our periods dictate our energy on some days, or our feelings, or even our emotions, right? And if you're a male, you don't have to have that problem. But I want to encourage you that some days we just feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders, whether it's with work, pressure in finance. I mean, gosh, just keeping up, right? I'm just trying to emphasize that we're not robots, and don't expect yourself to wake up feeling the same thing every single day. And that applies into our routines, right? So give yourself grace. If some days you feel like sleeping in, wholeheartedly sleep in. What do I mean by wholeheartedly? That when you're done sleeping in, you're ready for that next task. There's no guilt, there's no shame, but you're wholeheartedly sleeping in. Or if you are that 100% and you love waking up at 4:45 with me on my weekdays, then do that wholeheartedly and embrace it. And don't second guess the decision of waking up early. And maybe you've embraced waking up early, but that one day you're just like, I can't do it. Don't beat yourself up, but just start again the next day. But I also want to emphasize, listen to what you need. That has helped me so much. I used to think that I had to show up the same every single day. And if I didn't lift the same weight, or if I didn't feel tired after Stairmaster, like, the difference is what I would judge myself on. Oh, last workout, I pushed so much more weight. Or I woke up at 5 a.m. all last month. Why can't I do it this month? It's like that comparison. But let's change the mindset. For me, I go, what does my body need today? And I might have this whole to-do list of working out, doing my greens, eating limited sugar, but that might go out the door. That might change. And so allowing that, go into the mindset of what does my body need versus expecting it to show up the same every single day. In the book Atomic Habits, if you guys haven't read, James Clear taught me that small, consistent changes can lead to big results over time. And for me, wellness looks different each day. Sometimes it's a workout, sometimes it's just getting outside, and sometimes it's just taking a break. The real transformation came when I stopped forcing myself to fit into this mold and to start choosing what genuinely makes me feel good. And that goes to show, like, you don't have to do the same workout. Like, mix it up. Someone asked me, Courtney, you're looking so good. What are you doing? And I replied to them. It was a direct message on Instagram. I'm so open on Instagram. If you guys see something on Instagram, YouTube, I will totally respond back. I am not a gatekeeper. I want everyone to succeed. And so for me, that person said, hey, like, what are you doing? And I go, honestly, I'm just having fun with it. On the days I don't feel like working out, is it because I've done the same thing over and over? And is that my body, or my mind more specifically, telling me, hey, Courtney, mix it up. I'm getting bored. Or like I said earlier, is like, maybe you don't work out inside. Maybe you go for a walk or bring the weights to a park and mix it up. That has really been the biggest transformation, like, shift for me in terms of wellness and change, in terms of just changing my life up, is changing it up, having fun with it. And we can totally apply this on our commute to work, right? Take a different road, take the scenic route. Maybe it's 30 minutes longer, but mix it up with yourself. Maybe one day you're like, I don't feel like doing cardio. Okay, then go sit in the sauna. Or if you meditate on the same pillow every single day or on your same chair, mix it up and go sit in front of a beautiful window, right? Like, have fun with it. And that's been my biggest thing, is like, I just love mixing it up, because then I don't get bored. I have fun with it. I'm trying new workouts, or, trying new types of books, or, just having fun with it and changing it. So I could just wrap this one up is, stop having these rigid expectations for yourself. Have fun. Don't treat a workout or your meditation as just another to-do list. And if that's the case, take a break, take a step back. Or if you don't want to take a break, mix it up. Mix up your workout, maybe mix up where you meditate. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's so true. That truly has helped me transform my body and my mind, but still staying on a routine, right? Still stay on that routine. Just have fun with it. All right, so let's go into the next question. What's your favorite way to reconnect with yourself when life gets overwhelming? Life does get overwhelming. And actually, I have a really simple thing that is so, so key for me. And one of my favorite ways to just reconnect with myself is to go for a walk. I know that's so simple, but it helps me have quiet time by also being in nature. I think this habit started when I started doing 75 hard. I've done it 3 times. I failed the 3rd time though. I only got up to day 56 because I forgot to take a progress photo, but I still do it every year. I've successfully completed it twice and the 3rd time almost. But every time I've done it, even the first time I can remember, I was like, oh, these walks suck. Then by day 56, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a walk. I'm getting anxious. I'm going in the kitchen looking for snacks, or I'm just aimlessly roaming the house. And I'm thinking to myself like, oh my gosh, these are signs that I need to go for a walk. So I know it sounds so simple, but there's something so grounding in the fact of going for a walk. And if you're one of my coaching clients listening to me, you know that those words come out of my mouth almost every session is your homework this week is to go for a walk. I mean, if you want a little extra credit bonus, go barefoot, go walk on the sand, go walk on the beach. I mean, winter is coming and it's getting cold, but it still feels so good. And the season change, it's kind of exciting. It's like a new walk, but I absolutely love, love, love my walks. Sometimes it just allows me to sit with my emotions. And I highly encourage you guys to actually go with a social media or a cell phone free walk or a media free walk, right? So there's no sounds, no podcast, no music, no cell phone. Don't call anyone. Don't text anyone, all the things, right? But try it. Even if it's just for 20 minutes, I think sitting in our thoughts and sitting in our emotions and allowing things to come into our brains, into our minds is another way for us to process and get so, so, so clear. And, another thing I love to do if you don't want to do like a cell phone free walk is go on YouTube and actually look up walking meditations. Like I absolutely love doing walking meditations because I'm moving, I'm out in nature, and it actually is like, look around you, look at that tree, look at the mountain, like look at the sky. What do you see? And it allows you to bring all your senses into your walk. Because if you don't like to sit in silence, like I totally get it. But walking meditations is like such a great way to get so present within your walk, especially if you're just starting out walking. You're like, what do I do? This is so boring. I also encourage you when you do go on your walks, allow those feelings to come up. Like allow those feelings to come up so you can process them, so you can see what's coming up. And, in the book of The Miracle of Mindness by Nat Han, he powerfully says feelings come and go like clouds in the windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. This quote reminds me to allow my feelings to just pass without judgment. I mean, think of a cloud in the sky, or even when we look at planes, like we're looking at it, we're observing it, right? And then we're letting it go. And I love that. So embrace the emotions that come up on your walk. Embrace the feelings. Those are so powerful, and it's a great way for us to just process. And that's honestly such an easy, it's free, and it's like my favorite way to just ground myself and connect with myself, especially like during the holidays. If you guys can just get away for like 5 to 10 minutes on a walk, just slip out the front door, the back door, and go for a walk outside. And if it's cold, embrace the cold walk. Put on your gloves, put on your jacket, and just feel the cold air on your face. And if you can't even go for a walk, just standing outside. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Walk 5 minutes in one direction and 5 minutes back. I swear, every time I come back from a walk, it is like, I feel like I took a fresh nap, or I feel like a new woman. And if you can get into that hour mark, I try to do at least 3 days of 1 hour walks. Obviously, it's not ideal when I'm traveling or when I have a workload, but it honestly is such a great break too. Like I look at Olivia, our cutie little Frenchie, and she's like totally looking at me, and I'm like, let's go for a walk. I think we both need it. And so it's just like a time for us to just come together. And it's a good reminder that sometimes we do need that break. We do need that walk to just like reset in the middle of the day. So yeah, that's my tip. That's my favorite way to reconnect. All right, let's get into the next one. I think we have some time. I love these Q&As because it's like has me thinking. It's like kind of a therapy for me to just like go back into my Rolodex of memories. And if you don't know what a Rolodex is, it's kind of like a filing cabinet of memories and kind of just reflect on how it's changed my life or how it's shaped who I am or just given me a fresh perspective. So someone asks, can you share a time when you faced a significant challenge and how your mindset helped you through it? I feel like I've had so many significant challenges, but one super recent was back in February. I got breast reconstructive surgery, and that was quite the journey because it started out back in October. But if we really wanted to start it, it was actually 5 years ago when my implant started leaking, and I had no idea. And then in October, I was told I had cancer, or there was some detected cancer, and that was a whole nother thing. They mailed in my results, open immediately in red ink, and they had me sign for it to make sure I had gotten it. So then back in February, we found out that it was a ruptured implant, and my implants were actually completely like destroyed and broken down in my body. I remember laying in bed sick. I was so thin. I could barely keep up snowboarding. I mean, my quality of life was totally diminished. And what's not ironic about that, but maybe fast forward to now is, gosh, I have a mad appreciation for my body. I have a mad appreciation for the resilience and a mad appreciation for working out. I mean, I think every day that I work out, I go back to that day or actually that month in December where I was in bed a lot of the time because I had no strength and I was just constantly tired. And then in January, knowing I had my surgery coming up in February, I had like a wind of energy. I was excited to get this done, but I was also nervous. And finally, after recovering, that was a true test of my mindset. I felt physically weak. I was mentally exhausted and emotionally vulnerable. And when I say emotionally vulnerable, I had to ask for help. Like I told James, he didn't have to be there for me and he wanted to. And I know that sounds so weird, but it's not. That the emotional vulnerable part, which is also another part of why I do this Q&A, is I'm working on this current phase in my life of sharing and being okay with it and being honest about how I feel regardless of what someone might think or their judgment or their opinion, or maybe even they had a different experience. That defense piece of me, like, okay, I can feel this way and not defend. And that's currently what I'm working on. And so it was hard to see myself as strong in those moments. I was weak. I didn't like myself. I was actually really frustrated a lot of the time. But that was a real testament to my mindset in a lot of ways. And so reading Viktor Frankl's book, Man Searching for Meaning, helped me change my perspective. If you guys haven't read this book, talk about a man that had hope and mindset and just an incredible story. Again, I'll link these books that I've read in my show notes. I truly, if I could meet this man in real life, if he was still alive today, I don't know if he's still alive actually, but it goes way back. And he's just super inspiring. I think he's just older because he was in the Holocaust. So he could be, or he could have just passed. But regardless of that, he talks about how we can find meaning even in our suffering. And I realized that growth doesn't always look powerful. Sometimes it's really just about getting through one day at a time. And that was truly my mindset. I was like, I just want to get through this. And so after surgery, I had bags under my implants from how extensive the surgery was. I woke up and I was told that I was going in for an hour and a half. It actually turned out to be almost a 3-hour surgery. I didn't work out for 3 months. So I was just walking and maybe some light weight towards the end, just with my legs. But that journey was really, really hard on me. That experience taught me that resilience can be quiet and gentle and not always big and bold. And what do I mean by that? I had to go so slow with myself. I had to honor my body and like understand understand that it went through such an extreme surgery. And instead of just getting back to it and going hard, I was like, hey, you get to go slow right now. You get to do things that you might not normally do. Like for me, I found a new love for the sauna. Before my surgery, I was constantly on the Stairmaster, walking, lifting, like doing all these things. And during my surgery, the suffering of not being able to work out as much as I wanted to turn into not suffering. I literally said to myself, what could I do in this moment that I normally wouldn't be doing? And I found this sauna studio in Chicago and I went in that as soon as I got the clearance. I went in that and that was my peace. I found a new routine and now I have this routine that I still use in my life. And so, it wasn't always glamorous. There was days where I felt super down, but I'd still just focus on one small step, like going for a walk or maybe zipping up my jacket or maybe, I can do a couple more pounds heavier this time or, I'm one day closer to getting these bags out. The tiny, tiny actions reminded me that I was still moving forward, even if it didn't feel like it in the moment. Like I remember just like, are we done yet? Can I just be healed? Or I'd go into appointment after appointment and be like, we can't take your stitches out today, or we can't take your bags out today, or you have one more month of healing. And so as much as it like sucked in the moment, I know that helped my mindset and allowed me to look at other things of what I could do. It allowed me to see different things in my life that I could pick up on. I picked up my watercolors again. I did a lot of more gentler things, and it truly reminded me of how much I was missing those things. It truly reminded me, the surgery was a long process, but it was also a beautiful process for me to learn something new about myself in a gentler, kinder way. We don't need to go, 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 go. So that's really what it taught me. It's crazy. I'm like now thinking about it as I'm talking with you guys, like it was such a blessing. It's such a blessing that I got to go through that to discover new parts of myself. And maybe you're listening and you're going through something. What can you do? I ask you, what can you do in those moments where you might be on a different routine or a different path or making less money or, having a different friend group, or maybe you're just lonely. Like, what can you do in these times that you might not normally do because those friends are going to come back. That paycheck's going to come back. So what can you do in these moments where it might not be so much suffering, but a blessing to discover something about yourself, about your life, or maybe it's actually something you might not need. Maybe you have to cut back on your budget, right? And you can't shop as much. I've been there. It's not fun, but it is fun because I realized how much I didn't need in those moments. But maybe you are cutting back on your budget, or, you got cut to part-time so you have more time on your hands. Like, how can you see what you might normally call suffering as a blessing? And I'm going to ask you that. Try it. All right. I think we have time for one more question. You guys are so good at these. All right, so this one's juicy. Are there any common misconceptions about adoption that you'd like to clear up? How has being adopted shaped your worldview? All right, this is good because I feel like this happens more often to me than not. And it's kind of like why I'm hesitant to share I'm adopted, but I'm also like, wait, let's use this as an opportunity to educate versus judge them for not knowing. And I used to think that way a lot, like, oh my gosh, how offensive or how rude. Like they don't even know. Well, of course they don't know. They're not adopted, right? And so taking that assumptive role out of people asking me questions is just my tactic. But okay, so I think the one misconception now that I've been talking is, somehow people with being adopted think you're less than. And hear me out. Like when I say less than, I remember when I first was dating James, my husband. And, he grew up in a Greek family. He has two other brothers. They had the most beautiful Christmases and dinners and parties, and he would explain them to me. And when we were first dating, we were talking about how our families are and, what we do. And, the holidays aren't my favorite. Christmas is not my favorite holiday. And we can go into that another time. But we just didn't do Christmas like he did. And when I say we, that's in my adopted family. But I also told him about me being in foster care and orphanages and not having any Christmas. But as a child, I didn't see it as like me not having anything. That was my normal. I was just like grateful probably to have a Christmas sweatshirt or see Christmas lights. But, when we were talking about each other's families' Christmases and what we do and our traditions, I was sharing with him that like I didn't have that. And he says to me, oh, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm sorry you didn't have a Christmas. And in my head, I'm like, I'm not sorry. Like, I'm not sorry at all. Like, It's who I am. I'm incredibly proud that I didn't have that Christmas, but it wasn't like it made me a better person, like having all that Christmas, when he says, I'm sorry, like you didn't have that, he felt bad. And I said, there's no need to feel sorry for me. Like I'm good. And, not having a Christmas and hearing as I've gotten older, when I was adopted at 9, then people started, oh, what'd you get for Christmas? So what'd you get for Christmas? And you know what? I think my biggest gift about being adopted and having a different background is it taught me resilience, independence, and gratitude. And I mean that. Like, I totally mean that. It made me realize that family isn't about blood. It isn't about what you have or what you didn't have. It's about the people who show up and choose you. And I was just so excited after I got adopted. I was just so excited to have a family. I was so excited to have a consistent bed or a shower or food. I mean, we used to go be left at times and I had to go find us food with my younger brother. Like, I was just grateful, and I think that's why I have such a strong gratitude practice today is because, I had nothing. And so anything after that was just like icing on the cake, And I don't know if you guys have read Tara Westover's book, Educated. Oh my gosh, this girl's story is incredible. But she talks about redefining family and finding her own place in the world. And that totally spoke with me and it resonated with me so deeply. Her story is a reminder that our past shapes us, but it doesn't define us. And so when James said, I'm sorry, it's like, cool, I'm not. Like, there's no need to be sorry. I'm not defined by that. I also have the choice to go buy myself presents if I really wanted to, but I don't even need that because I have such gratitude in my heart for Cozy Fire and we make waffles on Christmas. Like, we have our own traditions and I absolutely love that. And so I just want to emphasize that you can create your own, right? You can create your own definition of family like I did. You can create your own tradition of Christmas like I've done with James. It's not going to be always easy, but it allowed me to build bonds on my own terms. And it taught me to cherish those who choose to be in my life, right? Like being alone on Christmas sometimes, yeah, cool. But then when I do have someone in my life on Christmas, holy moly, am I freaking grateful, right? And I just want to emphasize, like, Christmas is different for everyone. It doesn't look the same. Create your own mold, create your own traditions, bring the power back into your own life. Don't feel sorry for yourself. I don't facilitate people feeling sorry for themselves because we have the choice. We really do have the choice, especially living in the United States. We have the choice to create our own. And yes, our past can be dense and heavy like mine, but I'm also so grateful that I have the choice to make it different. And I think we all can. So if there's one misconception about adoption, if I can just recap this is don't feel sorry for us, please. Like treat us as an equal. The less than mentality is not applicable. Yeah. All right, you guys, I've had so much fun today doing this Q&A. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to click the link below, send me an email, send me a DM. I want to hear from you. I want to get to know you and honestly be nosy. Be so nosy. Send me a message, send me a Q&A, even on anything I've talked about today. If you guys need help, reach out. I am such a resource and I love being a resource. Till next time, bye guys. I hope today's episode left you better than when I found you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and tune in every Monday to kickstart your week and set your weekly intentions with me. You can find me and HFH on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, or online at heycourtneybrooke.com. I firmly believe in the power of sharing. If you know someone else who would benefit from this podcast, please share it with them. And remember, when you work on you, I get to be there.